Okay. Welcome everybody to the Woodside Highlands Road Maintenance District Resident Advisory Committee. Thursday, October 6th. We're gonna start the meeting now at 6:34 p.m. And I'm Teresa Godfrey, and I'm going to take the roll call of the committee members. Matt King.
Here.
Frank Crow.
Here I am.
Mike Grant is excused. He's got a sick wife at home.
Mhm.
Jean Isaacson.
Here.
Tim McDonald. And George Schul is excused as well. Welcome everybody else to our meeting. You all should have received a link for the packet for this evening. The first order of business was that we were to have Mike Grant be the secretary, but since he's not here, is there anybody who's willing to volunteer? Or I told him I would do it if nobody volunteered.
I thought we agreed to cycle through the alphabet.
I'd say, Teresa, you were the next on the list.
I'm the next on the list, so I guess I'll just do the minutes. So, okay, there we go. I'm going to dispense first with the oral communications and approval of minutes because we do have a guest at our meeting here, and I think it's important that we are polite to their time commitments. And so I want to recognize Mark Trujillo from the California Water Service. As you all probably remember, there was to be a project starting sometime in the fall, and it was to replace the water main extending down from Upper Russell through Leroy. They'd done some temporary work several months before, and this is now the actual project itself. And Mark, I'm wondering if you want to fill us in on the project, the timing of it. And I know you did send a letter to me, which was not in the packet, so people didn't have the opportunity to read the background and what your time frame is. So
yes, sorry about getting that late. Thank you everybody for having me at this meeting. I also have Phil and Jesse, who are our contractors, who will be out on site helping me get this water main in as quick as possible and get it paved and get out of your guys' way, per se. I don't know, there's been some minor work. We've been meeting with a lot of engineers. I think I walked with Gene one time out there to the job. Thank you, Gene. So I believe you guys were going to pave this area, and Teresa and I came in contact. I think I came to one meeting and we asked everybody to hold off on the paving restoration because we were going to be putting in a water main and we're going to do our part in paving. So it would kind of go hand in hand, where instead of us tearing up your guys' brand new roadways, you guys would have less to pave in the end once we put our main in and do our T-cut and get it all paved and restored. So thank you for holding off and waiting for us. I know the winter's coming. We want to get this done and get it in. So far we've USA'd the area. You might see some hash marks out there. This is where the trench line is going to go for the water main. It's a narrow street. A lot of utilities out there and culverts. We're gonna install 1,565 feet of 8-inch ductile and 750 feet of 6-inch ductile out there, and we're going to upgrade and install some extra hydrants along the way between on Russell, like she says, starting from, you guys call it upper Russell down to Santa Maria, and then we'll come back and do Leroy to Santa Maria. We plan on start potholing next Wednesday. So we're going to go door to door tomorrow and notify the residents within the area. We could go farther out if you guys feel like we should, or I'm not sure if there's some way to post this letter. Sorry, Teresa, for not getting it in time to go out onto the Portola, the board or the message board, like you said. But we could go out farther and notify more people. I mean, you could talk or whoever on who to notify. For sure, though, we'll do the immediate area and the affected streets. We plan on starting up there at Upper Russell by our station, and we're going to work down to Santa Maria. And
So
then
can I pause you for just a half a second?
Yep.
When you talk about starting Wednesday, that's the 12th, are you
Mhm.
referring to?
yes,
We do have our fall cleanup days scheduled for the 15th and 16th, which means that we're going to have dumpsters, and we have a dumpster set up by that water tank. And usually is delivered on Friday, and it stays there for several days after the cleanup is finished, because we can't actually know when the dumpster people are going to be picking it up. We know when they're going to be delivering it, but they're not completely regular with when they actually pick it up after the fall days are over. So what kind of activities are you actually going to be starting in the early portions of your work? Because we may have some conflicts with just the actual placement of the debris box and the debris activities going on Saturday and Sunday.
yeah, we're gonna start with potholing. It's gonna be a much smaller crew than the mainline crew that's out there and less heavy equipment. So we'll be out there basically digging within our trench line to visually expose gas lines, culverts, sewer lines that are marked, or you guys don't have sewer, sorry. Anything that's underground, we want to go through there and not hit nothing. So the crew's gonna go through and we call it potholing, which is like daylight and then digging up, even water services and water mains. The last thing we want to do is hit something and interfere it out there. So that'll be the first phase of the project. So as far as the dumpsters, I don't think they'll impact us at all. We'll be able to work around them and, we could come back, worst case scenario, and, do those last ones that are, say if the dumpsters are over a pothole or something like that, we could always come back and dig it up towards the end.
So just for delivery purposes, are we going to be in your way when they get delivered on Friday, the 14th?
No, we might even be past the station by then if it's a
Okay.
couple days.
Okay,
Phil, I mean, you think that'd be all right?
because parking is limited, and we would ask that no one park up there during the period when the dumpster is up at the station 8. The other station's not a problem, and the other dumpster is down at the bottom of Santa Maria, so that's not going to be an issue for anybody.
Marco's gonna add that.
Phil, if you were talking, are you part of the?
So I'm Phil with West Valley Construction. I'm the contractor,
Okay,
along with Jesse and John, who are on this call right now.
okay,
The only thing we'll note is there will be traffic control. Obviously, the streets are very narrow,
right.
rather windy. So when we're potholing, it'll be a smaller crew, but there will be traffic control with the flaggers that have the stop paddles and the slow signs. So I think we could coordinate with the delivery trucks.
Okay, well, we know the specific day. It's going to be on Friday. So, and it does go to the top, and we need to have that area clear of all of our residents parking, as well as anybody else who happens to be in the neighborhood that day. So just a heads up.
All right, no problem. And that's Friday. And then and we don't know when they'll pick it up.
Friday, the 14th.
Okay.
No, I don't know when they're going to pick it up. We're always wondering, why are they taking so long to pick it up? But it should be, it should be the following week, the week of the 17th.
And then after that, do you guys foresee any other dumpsters coming up, or is this like fall cleanup, like
This
spring
is
cleanup?
fall cleanup.
Okay.
The next one is going to be in the spring. So
Okay,
if you're
so
still
I think-
here in the spring, then we'll talk
No.
about it in the spring.
No. All right. So thank you. So after we go through and pothole everything, then we'll come back with the heavier equipment and then start, digging the trench and laying the main and installing as we're going. We're going to still start in front of the station and work down. We're estimating about 60 feet a day. Some days we might do better. Some days we might do less. And with that, like Phil was saying, we're going to have flaggers out there, detours to allow residents, to give them access. There's not really much to go around, but we'll try our best. A lot of times too, the foreman will notify the resident like, hey, we're going to be crossing the front of your driveway or in there. Do you need to get out right now or not? And obviously parking is restricted, so we will work with the residents. We have steel plates on site. We'll be able to plate it and get them across, but we always try to get them out first before we do it. Cause we will, help everybody out, but it does cause delays and we want to try to get through there as quick as possible. We backfill the trench every day. We don't leave no trenches open. Those we do leave open, they'll be covered by a big steel plate. They put wedges underneath them, so when people run over them, they don't make noise or nothing like that. So they're all safe at the end of the day. After all the main line goes in, we'll start disaffecting and pressure testing this section. And then we'll start working on the other section, which is Leroy, which is a tighter street. This way it helps minimize delays, because this way we keep the process going and we're not stopping in between waiting for the first section to pass water quality test and pressure testing. Then once they pass, we come up, we tie it in. So you'll notice a water service interruption. We notify everybody who's affected within 48 hours to give them 48-hour notice. We'll do the tie-in, and then at that point, we'll start reconnecting water services, and that's usually a day of notice. It's usually a short interruption, 15 minutes to an hour. We could work with people too and come back, or with the timing of the day to connect those.
So Martha, when you were doing the past work on Leroy, you were connecting through Santa Maria and actually had to do some closure of Santa Maria. Is that still how you have to do it, or are you able to connect through Leroy?
Meaning the
Meaning
water.
we have to close Santa Maria. Closing Leroy certainly it affects the people who are on Leroy, but it's a much less traveled road than Santa Maria. And
Right.
Santa Maria closure has much greater implications, particularly at that area for the hill.
Yes, so at Leroy and Santa Maria, when we tie that main in towards the end of the project, we will have to close that down.
Okay,
It's very narrow there, and I know there's a tight bend coming up, almost like a blind curve, but we'll have to, close it down.
okay, so whoever the
at
crew
times.
boss is going to have to work with us for communication, because that's not going to affect just the people who are having their water mains connected or reconnected or water turned off. It's actually the entire hill and the access to the upper portion of the hill. So we're going to have to talk about how that's going to happen, and when it's going to happen, and whether we need to open up the fire road at the hayfields to let people in and out that way.
Okay, and then who's the main contact? Is that you on that,
Me.
Teresa? Okay, and how much notice would you like?
Folks,
how many
we think it's
days?
reasonable. 3 days notice. I don't know. We need more than 24 hours, I think.
Oh, no, yeah.
You know,
I'd give
because
you
we also
48.
have to let people know if they're going to have any deliveries that are affected. They need to be able to kind of change delivery dates, or it really has a compounding effect on us. So garbage company, we have to let them know that they need to pick the garbage up early. They can accommodate us, but I like to give them a week's notice if something's going to be happening where they can't access certain parts of the road. And our garbage pickup is on Tuesdays. So depending upon when you're doing this, it could be that it's not a factor, or it could be that it is a factor. So I don't know any of this until we get into it and we see what your timing is. And also if you're going to be extending over a weekend, a Friday to a Monday, that of course has much greater issues than if it's just, a 3-day period of time or a 2-day period of time.
Oh, no, we'll only close the road for one, possibly 2 days. One day we might do a pre-dig,
Mhm.
which would be rather short, like maybe half of a day.
Yeah.
And then the next day we would shut it down and probably have it closed all day to do the actual work. We wouldn't leave it overnight or nothing like that.
So 72 hours, I think, would be minimum for me to be able to get notice out to the community. So whoever's on construction crew, Jesse, Phil, John, 72 hours for a major road closure.
And that's just Santa
Please.
Maria at both points, I'm guessing.
Yeah,
Okay.
anywhere along Santa Maria. And it would be helpful to know if Russell's going to be completely closed from Tynan to Santa Maria, because we want to reroute people away from that. I mean, if you have flag people, that's nice and that'll help, but we want to alert them, don't go down that way.
So yes, it will be completely closed.
Okay, so
Um,
we'll have to let them know about that as well.
Yeah, because we'll have the smaller blocks in the middle while we're working.
Mhm.
They'll let the immediate residents get in, but then the flaggers will turn them around to have them
Yeah.
come around and come in the back way.
Yeah, but I
Okay.
mean, we have a workaround for that part. We don't have a
Yes.
workaround for Santa Maria.
Nope, I agree. Okay.
Okay,
And then, yeah, after all that's done and everything's tied in, we'll come and do our paving. So we'll pave the trench and then 1 foot on each side of the trench. I believe we're using a 18-inch or 2 foot bucket, or yeah, 2 foot bucket out there. So in the end, you'll get anywhere from what, 2.5 to, or I'm sorry, 4.5, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, either 4 feet or 3.5 foot trench that we'll pave, and anything else that we damage in the way. I do know we have some extra paving up there by the station. We have to put in a swell, from what I understand, talking with you.
mhm.
So I gotta get with either Phil, Jesse, or John and walk that out with them and someone else from your guys' team. to
So
repair
that's
all
going to
that.
happen. That's very exciting.
Yes, that'll happen
We've been
during
talking
our
about
paving.
that for a long time, and so it's really exciting to have that get paved up there. That'll be great.
Mhm.
Anybody have any questions for Mark?
Yes, I do. Mark, will you be doing any survey markings on the road? I noticed when you came by to do my part that there were some survey markings on the road. Will you be doing any? And if so, can you tell us where those survey markings go?
When you say survey markings, are you like talking like property line markings? Or are you talking the underground utilities that have been marked?
It looked like it was it looked like it was a survey marking for the middle of the road right of way. That's where it was at my house, but I didn't actually know. So my question is, when you do those markings on the road, can you tell us where those are? We're interested in knowing. If you're doing that survey work anyway, we'd be interested in knowing what it is.
So I know our engineers went out there and surveyed everything and then they drew up the plans. As far as that goes, they hand me the plans and say, basically, here, get this in the ground. So I don't know much about where the survey markings go. I think they do it mainly to make sure that we're staying within the easement.
So are there usually markings on the road? And how do we find out what those markings are marking?
So for survey markings, they usually don't mark them in the road. They'll usually do pins and they
Pins?
yeah, like a pin where they set up their equipment to survey and basically GPS it. So this way they could transfer it over to paper and plans and draw it up.
Mark,
Okay, thanks.
are those survey lines, or is those just to keep you in bounds of what you know to be the area that you're allowed to work within?
Yeah, they're basically what you're saying, because we
Okay.
don't really see property lines unless we're going through like easements through properties. I know we have an easement that we got to stay in within the roadway, and then up at our station we have easements, kind of like you guys.
Mhm.
There's that easement to go on that trail on the back. So those are pretty much what they're shooting and getting together to put on the maps.
Okay, so they're really just guides for you to work around.
Yes.
Okay. All right,
And then the white paint you see out there, if you're talking about that, it's called USA. It's actually 811 call before you dig. Anytime anybody digs, we're supposed to call it, put white out the area with white paint where you're going to dig. We spray paint it out, and then other utilities will come mark. Blue's water, yellow's gas, red's electrical, orange is fiber, green sewer, and orange is cable TV.
So but Cal Water has an easement for the entire width of the road right of way, as far as I know.
Yes.
Thank you.
So I have a question. So this is a 16-week project. Is that right? That's like, is that 4 months?
Yes, it is.
Yes.
That's what's outlined, yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
And so then you let us know 48 hours in advance if we're being impacted. Is that how that works?
For water shutoffs, we'll let you guys know 48 hours in advance. If it's an emergency, like we hit something or the main breaks while we're digging underneath it, say, then we'll, go door to door and notify as fast as we can, obviously, and get the repair done and get it back on. But for all day service interruptions, we give 48-hour notice when the water's going to be off. The only time we won't is when we're connecting the actual service to the new main at the meter. Then it's the day of, but it's usually anywhere from 15 to an hour, depending on how complex the connection is.
So just a quick question, follow up, Mark. So you do anticipate an all-day shut off then for water?
Yes. When we do our tie-ins, we'll have all-day water shutoffs.
Okay, and that is both on Leroy and Leroy and Russell.
Correct. And parts of Santa Maria will get affected because we're tying it out on Santa Maria
Okay,
at both ends, one at Leroy and one out there on Russell.
right, got it. And then I have a question about the way I read the letter. Part of the 16-week project is that the road will actually be repaved completely so that you will not see the patches for the trench. Do I have that right? Is that correct?
So no, we put in temporary paving while we're working. So you'll see the trench.
Yeah,
And then even after we pave, obviously you're gonna see a wider trench line per se than what was there. But that'll be the permanent part.
okay, so there will not be a repave of the total road then. You'll see these trench lines on Leroy then for the 2-inch that was put in, I think it was last year, and now for the 6-inch that's gonna go in this year. I thought there was going to be a repaving of the road, complete repaving, so that you wouldn't see the trench lines.
No,
I'll speak up for the road committee, since Georg isn't here. There is a plan to repave the whole thing, but we're going to do that after all the water work is done, so they don't dig up our fresh pavement.
The
Okay,
plan
so-
was to do it this year, but we deferred it out because of this project.
Yeah. But so Frank and Matt, does that include Leroy or is that only for Russell?
We hadn't included Leroy in the plan for next year, but that's always up for discussion.
So it is not in the plan for next year. I see. Okay. Yeah, we thought it was going to be Cal Water's job to do that, but thank you now for clearing that up for us. Okay.
Yeah, I guess technically speaking, when we get done with Leroy, half of it will be paved because it's a narrow street. And then, the 2 feet plus the 2 feet will have a 4-foot edge out there paved. And even Russell, when we go through and pave it, we'll do the 4 feet and then your guys' committee will come do the rest. It'll be less of an area, right? Because there's no sense in paving the brand new stuff we put in.
Okay.
Mark, there's a section of Russell that is cement. What is your plan for that area? Or concrete, whatever the technical term is?
Anything we remove, we're going to replace like in kind. So if it's, cement, we'll put back in cement. Do you know what area this is? Because I didn't even notice that out there.
Yes, it's down by Station 8. If you go down the hill, it's the steep part of the hill.
Not anymore.
It's not cement anymore?
I don't know of any.
Okay,
for that.
and I'm wrong.
It-
I always
it-
thought it was cement. Maybe I'm remembering from 40 years ago.
If we dig it up and, they say there's an asphalt cap on top of cement, then, we'll put the cement back underneath. We'll replace like in kind as we go with this
Okay,
project.
okay.
Teresa, you were referring to by my house, right?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, I'm not aware of any.
Okay, Okay.
Some of the drainage swale along the side of the road is, but I didn't think it was in any of the
okay,
area that they marked.
okay.
Yeah.
Mark, would you be willing, you said it so quickly, just shoot me a note for the color coding of what the various things are on the road, because I know people are kind of interested. What's the blue? And I couldn't catch that too quickly. So if you wouldn't mind, just so we can put that in the minutes.
In particular, I'd like to know what pink means.
Yeah, hot pink.
The D, there's
Squares.
a D or something like that. Yeah.
Looks like a D, yeah.
So
Yeah.
those are special. No,
Ooh.
that's where our contractor is going to dig up and pothole. Basically letting
Oh,
his crew know, hey, dig a hole right here because there's something here and we want to see how deep it is, the size, and, confirm that that gas line is actually a gas line or whatever's marked on the ground is actually there.
okay.
Go ahead, Lori.
And I guess one other question on the timing, since it is such a long window, are you gonna be like, and maybe this is a question for Teresa, are you gonna be like giving like regular updates on, okay, this week we're going here or, because it sounds like it's just gonna be 4 months of eternal disruption. So how will people know what's the schedule?
I could send out updates. I could do them bi-weekly if that works.
Every two.
I like it.
All right. I could send out maybe like a progress and where we're going. I could do that. And I could just send them to you, Teresa.
Sure.
Okay.
A quick follow-on question for you, Teresa, is to get Leroy as a paving project added. Do we need to formally request that since we have property on Leroy, or how do we get that on the agenda so that it gets in the queue so there's funding available for
I
it?
think if you ask the paving group to put it on and assess, I think the paving group is going to have to reassess what the plan was of phase 2 anyway, because of this water project.
Mhm.
And so if you would, the paving group is Matt, George, and Frank.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. Yeah, if
Thank
you start with us, we can go back and take a look
Yeah.
at it. I mean, to the point we made here, I think some of the assumptions are going to change as we go
Yeah.
into next year's plan.
Can I add something about Leroy myself?
Sure.
I think before we waste any money, we should do things right. And this water issue with water's pouring out of the Smoot property.
Yeah.
Yes,
A
I just saw
lot.
that.
And you're in the end of a drought. This is not groundwater. It can't be. I think we've tested, Cal Water says it's not their water. Tim McDonald tested it for chlorine. Anyway, this is the end part of a big time drought right now, and it is going strong. And so the result of all this constant water is that the side of the road there is just a wreck.
Mhm.
And
Anybody
it's
talk to
cracking,
them?
moving. And I was trying to figure out today, where the heck does that water go? Because it goes into the drain right at the corner of Ramesh's and Olga's and the Tull's old place, where Brandon and Sarah live. And then where does it go? I don't see anything coming out into the ravine that crosses Annalise's. Maybe I haven't been climbing down there, so I haven't seen anything, but water dripping slowly into the ground long enough is what causes landslides. So I just think I'm all for paving Leroy, but I'm all for figuring out what the heck's going on there before we do it. I think it's
We're fine with that, Gene. We're spot on with that. I was
Good.
just there and saw the water. It was, missed the T on the end. It's actually underneath the.
It's
big
under the
pipe.
T and it's a big damp spot this wide, and it's
Yep.
not the crinkly black pipe that was put in to take water down. It's
Yep.
something.
Yep.
So I think Cal Water
Yep.
needs, if Matt, if you don't mind, I know we've talked to you guys about that before, but it just seems like there's got to be a broken Cal Water pipe uphill, like at Tynan where the mailboxes are or something. I mean, it's just, where the heck is this water coming from? It's not sewage and it doesn't smell bad. It's just a mystery is what it is.
What's
I
the
think-
address?
Well,
on
it's
Leroy?
coming out of the bottom side of,
It's
Ken
right
Russell.
across from 6.
this is what, 10?
10 Russell.
Yes.
Ken
Yeah,
Russell.
has anybody talked to
Russell.
the Smoots? Like, do they just have busted sprinkler system?
What's
So
that?
this has been a problem for
For
way longer
years.
than just an
Oh,
immediate
okay.
sprinkler.
And
This
they
is-
have a French drain. They put it, Matt, you might know more than I do. I believe when they were first at the house, put a French drain around the property
Mhm.
to collect groundwater, but is it really groundwater? Where is it coming from? Like, anyway, it won't take all your time now, but it's a messy deal. It's a real messy
So-
deal.
Well,
So
we'll
Mark,
take a look.
10 Russell sits at the corner of Russell and Leroy there, and so it's below the property down on Leroy.
Yeah, and it's really right across from 6 Leroy. I mean, that's where you can really see it. It's just past George and Burgett's place, so it's right in front of ours, basically.
We could go check it for chlorine. If if it's our water going through anything, we'll be able to know.
Like how long does chlorine stay? I mean, if it travels long enough, the water will it'll dissipate, won't it?
Yeah, correct. But you know, if it's been going that long per se, then there's less things in there to eat it up as it's going down that road.
Mhm.
So it should come up. We do know we come across a lot of leaks that are get called in as leaks, and they're actually springs that appear. It almost sounds like this could be one if it's been going for a long, long time. They do pop up out of nowhere out here, especially up in Woodside and all this stuff. We come across even down here in Atherton by Alameda de los Pulgas. They pop up sometimes, and they go away for years, and then all of a sudden they come up. The ground's always moving, the water table moves, and
Don't say the ground's always moving, please.
This has been wet for years and years. We've tried to track this thing down for a long time, and it gets very mucky with it almost looks like algae that grows on the sides of the road.
Yep, that's for sure. It really runs almost year round, but it is really flowing now. I mean, it is coming out big
weird.
time, big time.
And Tim is here. Tim, do you remember your testing of that water?
Hey, I will test it again tomorrow.
Okay.
Thank
Thank
See
you.
you.
what happens.
Do you have Mark's
I
contact?
didn't know it was flowing like it was flowing. I just simply didn't notice it. But no, I have a water tester, and I will test it for hardness and any other chemicals that are in it.
Thank
Great.
you.
And would you get back to Mark on what you find out? Do you have his
Sure.
contact information? That would be great.
all right. Was there any other questions?
Anything
Or
else? It's going to be a long project. We're going to be very patient. We understand that there hopefully will be rain, which may impact the project as well. And that's both good and bad. So I don't even know what to hope for other than the project goes well and that the residents aren't terribly inconvenienced. But we do appreciate the efforts on Cal Water's part. We are looking forward to having additional fire hydrants. I think that's great. We really do appreciate that.
Yep.
and if there's any
Totally.
questions, comments, concerns, or you hear something not right, call me or reach out to me, email me. Teresa has my contact information. Phil, Jesse, and John are great to work with, really receptive. We're going to do what's right and get it done and try to get out of there as soon as possible.
And of the Phil, Jesse, and John, is there any one of them that wants to be our primary contact person? Or do you want to think about that and let us have one person that we need to work with from West Valley? Or how do you want to handle that?
You can call me and I'll work with them.
Okay, so
I'll
you
be-
want to be
yes.
the prime contact with that. Great.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. Because if there's anything not working out, I want to be the first to know.
Okay. I'll add one more thing, which I don't have a good idea or solution yet, but we do have that area of where Lower Russell comes into Santa Maria. And that area is very marked up right now with all sorts of striping and pretty colors. And I'm not quite sure what's going to be going on and what you're going to be digging or what you're not going to be digging. But as you see that area, you notice a cone that's sitting what looks like in the middle of the road. And we have a catchment basin there. And that's an area that we know we need to take a look at in terms of what makes sense. And if you, in your wisdom, have any ideas about that area, we could use some advice on what makes sense, because right now we have a repaved parking areas for two homeowners that now look like it's part of the street, and a drain that looks like it's now in the middle of the street, and some humps that sit over the drain area to help people not run over the drain. And it's clearly an area that needs some engineering and some thought. So I just throw that out into the universe of smart people and say, got any ideas for us on how we might be able to change that area to make it a little bit more functional and not and safe, because right now it's not the best. And I thank you for looking at it and working with us. Anybody else? Thank you guys for coming to our meeting. We appreciate it. We will communicate out to our neighbors, and anything you can do to avoid our fall cleanup day would be great.
Great.
Right, thank you.
Thanks,
Look forward to
guys.
the project.
Yes. Okay, I'm going to go back to the agenda now. Mark and your crew, thank you for coming. You're welcome to stay for the rest of the meeting. It is a public meeting, and so the public is
We're gonna-
welcome, or you can say goodnight and have a good night's dinner, or do whatever you'd like to do this evening.
Yeah, I'll say goodnight. Thanks for having
Okay,
me.
thanks for coming.
Thanks for working with us, and hang in there. We'll be in and out hopefully soon.
Okay, great. Bye-bye now.
Good night.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Good
And
night,
everybody
too.
else,
Thank
please
you, guys.
stay. We've got a big agenda, lots going on, and hello, Pussycat, in our community.
New neighbor. We're gonna leave as well.
But thank you, everybody, for all the.
You're welcome to.
Yeah,
stay.
really much appreciate it. Really do.
Okay.
Have a good
When
evening.
when you have questions, you know where to get a hold of us.
Definitely.
Yes, we know. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye, Jane. Bye, guys.
Okay, the second item on our agenda is oral communications for items not on the agenda. Does anybody have anything they want to throw out into the universe?
I do.
Yes, Annalise.
Okay. I've done my best to time this for 2 minutes as required. I have 2 points. The last committee meeting was videotaped and posted on the town YouTube channel. And I realized that at about the 55-minute mark, Frank Crow gave us some legal advice, stating, and I quote, "Be a little careful about putting too much emphasis on the road right-of-way, which is this nice legal construct." Now, this committee's charter explicitly states that the duty of the committee is to protect the road and the associated right-of-way. So perhaps the town's attorney can tell us if the right-of-way is, as Frank claims, just a legal construct which can be ignored, or is an actual legal duty placed on this committee to protect the entire width of the right-of-way for both vehicular and pedestrian use. Second, the umbrella remark. At about the 59-minute mark, the chair of this committee was asked about the relationship between the committee and a private nonprofit corporation that operates in Woodside, Highlands. And the chair replied that this committee was, and I quote, "under the umbrella," unquote, of the private corporation. So my question is there any legal relationship at all between the private corporation and this committee? If not, is there any unwritten agreement between the town and the private corporation that would lead the chair to state that this committee was somehow subordinate to, or under the control of, or as she put it, under the umbrella of the private corporation? And if not, could the town, perhaps the town attorney, create a clear statement as to the real relationship, legal or otherwise, between the private corporation and this committee? I think it important that the chair of this committee read out the legal statement so that mistakes are not made in the future. Thank you.
Any other oral communications for items not on the agenda? Okay. Thank you, Frank, for the minutes from our last meeting, August 2nd. They've been distributed. Does anybody have any comments, additions, corrections to the minutes?
Yes, I do. I noticed that one of the items said they thought that the right-of-way policy document was the Bernhardy memo. That's incorrect. That document was originally drafted by Jen Frazier, modified by the board of the private corporation, and sent around to the membership for comment. So it is not the Bernhardy, that's the incorrect description. It was originated with Jen Fraser inside the private corporation and distributed to the residents.
Okay. Any other corrections? Okay, with the correction of the document from Bernardi to Fraser, would anybody like to move to accept the minutes with the one correction?
Also move.
Any second? Okay, all those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, great. Thank you. New business. Okay, these are items that the town asked us to put on the agenda. So I can't say that I'm a particular great knowledgeable about them. But I will read them, and they will be so noted in the minutes. For the new business, there's a committee workshop for all town committees that will be taking place in January. And the workshop is to identify major town council projects and expenditures for fiscal year 2023 to 2024. I believe the intent is to have us be on notice that this is going to be discussed in the town committee. And since we're a town committee, we get to discuss this item. And so if we have any specific ideas or things that we want to have the town know that we're thinking about as a major expenditure, that we should throw that into the pot.
Have they communicated the objectives of this discussion? Like, is that what it's about? It's for us to brainstorm and provide ideas, or are they presenting a list of things? Do we know?
No, I believe it's us to present to them. I don't believe they're going to be giving us major projects and we respond to the projects.
Okay.
So if, for example, Woodside Highlands Road Maintenance District Resident Advisory Committee had a major project that had in some way some expenditure that would be appropriate for the town to consider,
Like a bus stop?
then we would right, it could be the bus stop, it could be, trimming of the trees, it could be, the intersection at the bottom if we decide that it needs to be repaved and it's partly town, partly us, it would be something like that. I can't imagine what else it might be, but maybe it could be something. I don't know.
Well,
So,
okay.
Okay, and then the second item that they want us to be sure to tell everybody about was the discussion of the town email and texting policy during public meetings. I think that most of you might be aware that there was some controversy about a town council, as I understand it, a town council member texting to a staff member during a town council meeting. And after lots of conversation and discourse and back and forth, the town attorney drafted a policy basically that says that you really shouldn't be texting each other during official meetings.
Yeah, that goes with the notion of the fact that these are supposed to be open and public meetings, so there shouldn't be any hidden side conversations going on. Everything should be right here on the screen.
Exactly. So we now all know that that's what the town policy is. New policy drafted and approved by the attorney, approved by the town.
It was very specific though, right? It was between committee members and between council members and
Yes.
so forth, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
The actual event, again, as I understand it, was that it was a town council member texting with a staff member.
Yeah. I
middle of
recall
the
the
meeting.
conversation. There were some points in there about it can't be between people.
Right.
Yeah.
And you did get a copy of the communication, if I'm not mistaken, it was in the packet.
Yeah, and it laid out the rules and everything. So yeah.
Exactly. Okay.
Does that mean we can use the chat if everybody gets to see it?
The chat is, I think they've turned the chat function off.
Yeah, I thought they locked that down.
So I don't believe we have a chat function that's available through Zoom when it's a town meeting.
Even
And I
though
believe
everybody has access.
the notion was that, not specifically for us, but for many meetings, they can be very complicated, and chat conversations got very distracting for the members of the committee and the chairs, and they couldn't keep up with it. So they just, I believe it's shut down. And we don't have a chat function.
Thanks.
Okay. Fall cleanup. So we have fall cleanup. We did take a vote. It was clear that there wasn't a unanimous decision. So we are not having a gardening crew with the pickup, which means that it's up to all of us volunteers to trim and to pick up the debris. And we have the 2 days, the 15th and 16th identified for those activities. We have, I know Bruce and Bill, Bill's trucks are available and they're planning on going around on Sunday. Tim, I don't know if you are available or if you think you would be more valuable actually helping on the trucks. And I thought there was, oh, and Mike is going to be going around, Mike Grant will be
Yeah.
going around with a truck. So I don't know how you feel about having, you know, people signing up to be truck crews or whatever, but I think we might need a little bit of focused, hey, we need you to do stuff here, guys, because it's different than last year, which is you didn't have to do anything about picking up because we had our gardening crew. So what's your thoughts?
We've always done it informally in the past. If that doesn't work, I guess we can get excited about it next year. We might try to do something to get newer and younger members of the Hillside involved.
I think that's a great idea. How would you propose doing it?
Well, I don't have any immediate ideas other than the usual leafleting or email.
Jean?
I'll try, I mean, I'll put together a, you know, colorful, I hope, interesting, maybe humorous handout that I think I've almost always done to have a physical thingy in the mailbox, which seems to get through to some people who don't maybe read notices too much. Talk to your neighbors. I'll try to emphasize, and we can too, in any emails that nobody else does this for us, where it's a private road. We've always said how we haul out of here four huge dumpsters per year, and think what it would look like around here if we didn't. Pretty bad. But I think, yeah, if you, Matt, you guys, there's a whole younger generation. What's your feeling about the interest level among people your age?
Well, I don't know if it's a lack of interest so much of it's, there's a lot of conflicts that go on the weekends, you know, with, you know, like my kids, I think they're both in soccer tournaments that weekend. So I think some people try to work around that. I do think there's a fair number of people that just need a little extra kick in the pants
Right.
to help them along.
One thing too, we can emphasize is that, and I have said this in my flyers before, that you don't have to wait till the weekend to do your frontage cleanup. You can do
Yeah.
it earlier and pile it, you know, to the side far enough. Emphasizing too that some people have, you know, on the curves, they have no frontage basically except a driveway, and other people have a wraparound, or even they have a back and then a front, and somebody else is out here. So front isn't the only thing. You have a frontage, backage, and sideage to, you know, that's, you know, your interface with the road. But yeah, and to emphasize too, Georg and Birgit again have offered to have a party, as most of you know, I guess afterwards. So I think that maybe helps people get a little more fired up. I hope.
So York has asked that we identify areas that would be good for, he's willing to lead us what I call a skirmish group, you know, someone or someone's to go and actually clean up areas that are not specifically owned by any residents. And, you know, we usually think of the beginning part of the hill is that area, but are there other areas that we can put a list together for him so that he can use with his volunteers, and then actually ask for people to contact him? Because I think his plan was to go out on Saturday to do that cutting.
Maybe some of the houses where there's older residents that aren't able to get out. And
Yeah. But one of the biggest areas, I know Paul and Helge have already spent a bunch of time up near the upper water tank and the
Right.
entrance to the fire road. So I'd like to thank them for that. One of the main areas that I've seen lately just getting overgrown. We're being invaded by these nasty blackberries, and once they take over, you're you're out of luck. Anyway, they turn really nasty. The thorns are, bloodthirsty. They're this long.
I got a problem in my yard.
Yeah, I mean, they're horrible. So I think we have to, for example, between Leroy and the lower water tank, that's that redwood area that's so pretty or can be. If you look in there, the blackberries they're growing all over on top of the ivy, and the ivy itself needs grooming. But once they morph into this vine that is this big around your thumb with 1/2-inch thorns, and they grow 10 feet a year. So they're growing in all these places, and I'll volunteer to do the edging, along. I'll go all the way from Leroy to the water tank and up the bank and pull out blackberries and stuff there. But back farther in there too, we could use more than one person. But I'll take care of the frontage on the drainage, just lots and lots of leaves. But that area is being taken over. Where else have I seen? Oh, I want to thank Frank. Frank is a hero of mine lately. I already started cleaning out the drain just above me. You know where we put that big log across the main drain? And we used a telephone pole a couple of years ago. That's getting overgrown with blackberries too. And Frank got right in there with his long pole pruner and tackled these awful blackberries. Did you lose any blood, Frank?
Nope.
Oh, good. I went out and invested in a pair of leather gloves that go all the way up to my elbow. And so I'm willing to climb down in there and fine tune the actual opening to the lower drain. If somebody promises to be with me in case I disappear down in there. But yeah, we have some communal areas for sure that could use some help, but I'll certainly volunteer.
So I'm actually looking for a list of the areas that we think might benefit from, like the redwood area or
Okay.
Are there any other areas that people can think of that what you can do is send George a note and say, George, this is an area that I think would be helpful to have some attention for for your group. Because we're going to put in our notice that we need volunteers to go out with George on Saturday. And his plan is to just kind of lead the group and figure out where it all needs to be trimmed and cut away. Okay, great. So for our notices, Jean, thank you for volunteering to put something together. I think we may need a couple of things, a couple of reminders, and I'm not quite sure what all is going to be the best, but maybe just with 3 or 4 different things. But we certainly need volunteers for the George's group. We need volunteers for the trucks that are going to be going around. And then we need people who actually will trim up their yards. And the canopy is another area that usually takes more than one person to deal with. And that's usually on a truck, someone standing with some type of a pole cutter and cutting back the canopy. Any other thoughts on road day? Other than to thank George for his generous, and Brigitte their generous offer of hosting a party at the end at 4:30 at their home.
I would say that if we know people who haven't been participating and we're close to them and we can give them a friendly razz to get them out there.
Well, I know neighbors who think I don't have problems with my house, so why do I have to get out?
Yeah.
I think that's a common theme in many thoughts.
Yeah.
And it's not just that it's not just for yours, it's for everyone's.
Yeah, tell them they can use something other than Santa Maria to get up and down.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
I know a few people I can harass.
Good. Anything else on road day? Fall cleanup? We seem to have whatever we want to call it. Okay, great. I'm not sure why I put this on here, discussion of new resident handbook, other than it was something that we talked about as, gee, that would be a great idea, but we don't really have someone to take that on. I'm hoping that might be
I'll do it.
something. Oh, thank you. But I actually think it's better placed under the Woodside Highlands Improvement Association. And so what I
Okay.
thought I'd do is ask that board when they meet to re-examine a handbook for the Woodside Highland, because I think it's more than just road maintenance and drains, which is what our purview is.
That sounds right.
Although I think we ought to invite input from anybody, in particular.
Oh, totally, totally. But I don't think we have to be the oversight body for a handbook, but I think we certainly want to give input into it if it's going to get going. And
Was
we
this
have an
also gonna
opportunity
be-
even-
Sorry, was this also going to be a handbook for new members on this committee? There's a huge amount of archived information that new members for this committee don't seem to know how to get access to. So if you were interested in doing that kind of handbook for people coming onto this committee, I would be happy to help.
Thank you. So far, this committee has been fairly stable. It's only been in existence for 2 years, but I suspect you're talking about the Improvement Association Board. And
No, the 2 years is up, so the people are going to be reappointed this year.
we haven't heard back, we haven't heard from the town yet. That may be what's happening. I assume it will happen, but I don't know that for sure.
That's what the
We
charter
will-
says.
We will know when they get to us and say, you're up for reappointment and what do you want to do about it? And I think that will take place in December. I don't think that's going to happen before then.
I'm picturing the handbook, a handbook more like what Marie Bernardi put together, which is general information, colorful information, something new neighbors, we'd give to them for sure, so they understand the
Sure.
history of the private road in brief, but not a whole bunch of detail more. I think Annalise more about the specific rules and regulations and all that sort of thing for the RAC. Is that what we originally, I think we're talking about, more of a welcome to the neighborhood with that kind of information for general purposes?
Yes.
Yeah.
And I don't know why it got on our committee agenda, so I'm suggesting that we throw it over to the Woodside Highlands Improvement Association Board
Sure, 'cause that's where.
for conversation.
Yeah.
I agree.
Okay, old business, project schedules and reports. Okay, so paving subcommittee, Matt, you sort of did it, but what do you think everybody's thinking? Are we thinking?
Well, so we need to get back together. We paused everything with the paving rework. So Frank and Georg and I need to sit back down and come up with a plan for next summer, assuming that we still have assuming that we have some understanding of what any kind of cal water work they're going to be doing during that window, we're aware of. But this is usually the time of year where we kind of set what an initial plan looks like, so we can prepare ahead of time to be able to get folks in to do bids and so forth. So I think it makes sense for us to get together again before year end. We just haven't set a date for it yet. Frank, anything you want to add there?
I think we should time this so maybe about the end of January or something, when it's pretty clear what the water company will have left us.
Mhm.
We can look at it again and then decide whether we want to change our plan or not. Georg stays on as a member of the road committee, even though he's leaving the board. Is that right, Teresa?
So he's leaving, he left the Woodside Highlands Improvement Association Board. We have two organizations. We have the WIA, Woodside Highlands Improvement Association, private, not-for-profit. And then we have this group, which is the public entity. It's the Woodside Highlands Road Maintenance District Resident Advisory Committee, which has to do with roads and drains. So Georg is staying on this, from what I understand, and he's no longer on the WIA board. We have a new member, Dana Hall, and we are getting a meeting pulled together. We're trying to do it on the 18th, and I'm not sure where we are. Jane is the secretary, and she, I believe, polled some of the people, and I don't know if she's gotten back yet with a specific time frame for when the meeting will be. But we have some exciting opportunities through the Woodside Fire District that we want to discuss with the community. Did I answer your question, Frank?
Yeah, I think,
You implied it, yes.
yeah, Georg is staying on with.
I think he's staying on. I mean, you're gonna have to ask him. I hope he does. He seems very busy right now.
Mhm.
Anything else on paving at this point? Okay,
Not for me.
drain subcommittee. That's Jean and Mike. And Frank, are you on that too?
I'm not sure.
I think Frank's on that too,
I
huh?
think so.
I think so.
I think I get dragooned every now and then.
Yes, I think so. So I'd like to defer that conversation and actually talk about the specific drains that we know have been identified, because I know Kim is here and he's been patiently waiting for us to talk about his drain. And then we can loop back up to the topic of inventory when we're finished with the specifics, if that's okay with everybody.
Are we interested in surveying problem drains right now and make a list, or?
Well, the inventory, yeah. So, but we do have specific projects that are that were on our to-do list, which I think we want to actually kind of address and finish up.
Mhm.
And there was an open drain box at 31 Santa Maria, which Jean, do you know about that one? Or
It's all done.
Right.
Bruce's fellow did it and it's great.
okay, so that one we can take off the list. He put on a grate on top, and I don't remember what else he did, but he did something else.
We shaped it a little bit so the grate fits in very neatly, and so
Right,
you could
that's
actually
right.
drive over it. Mhm.
That's right. Okay, so that's done. Great. Isn't that nice? We could do something.
Is that the Burka drain box? That is, isn't it?
Yes, above the burkas. Mhm.
Yeah,
Above.
he's invoiced for that, and we accrued for it last year.
Okay. The next one is Kim and Orchard Properties at 133, 141 Santa Maria. Kim, I know we've received a couple of nice emails from you and documented the issues and the water and all of that. And I understand that there's a plan afoot. You want to talk about it?
Sure. Yeah, so I've been working with Mike. He's been very, very supportive. So just a quick recap. There's a storm drain that starts at 141, continues under our property, 133, goes to a catch basin near the bottom of our property, and then which there dumps into the creek behind our property. And last winter, specifically October, December, when we had those deluges, that drain got overwhelmed and backed up and flooded onto our property. So when the orchards were there, they were very supportive, and you know, they tried to do a good job clearing out the open drains on their property. Unfortunately, they've moved, and so they're not there anymore. So earlier this summer, I bought a cheap borescope and I sent it down there, and about 30 to 40 feet down, I found that the pipe was like half full of dirt and leaves. So that's when I sent out the report, and Mike got involved, and he came out to the property to take a look. And so he and I have been calling various vendors to see who can clear out the storm drain. And most people didn't want to touch it. And so, including Pat Dempsey, who pushed it onto his son, who then pushed me onto another outfit. So I finally found one outfit based in Livermore that sounded actually enthusiastic about this job, called Diablo Hydrojetting. And I talked to him on the phone, and he seemed pretty helpful. I sent him my address and some photos. So he's estimating it would cost between $975 to $1,500 to do the jetting. And he would go in from below. He would actually bring his hose into the catch basin and go backwards up the drain to try to clear out the debris.
Do you know how far up that blockage is from the bottom?
Pretty well, I would guess at least 100 feet. I mean, at least what I saw. My borescope's only 50 feet long, so that's as far as I can reach. So yeah, so it's pretty far, but he said he preferred to go from below.
I know Roto-Rooter will do some things like that. This may be too much for them, but
No, so Roto-Rooter, so Mike did have a meeting with the town manager and asked for his list of vendors, and Roto-Rooter was on that list. They also, with Alpha, that came out in December when we had the blockage, and they did bring their jet, but basically they didn't find a complete blockage. It's just slow. And that cost us, I forget, it was over $2,000 for to have Roto-Rooter come out. So my thought, well, let's try someone else. Might be a little cheaper, might be more effective. And WH Dempsey was also on the town list, so they don't want to do it. And then there are two others who we have not called. And I know Mike called a couple other outfits and didn't want to do the job because the drain was too big for them, I think.
Hey, Kim, is this another like cast iron pipe that was buried and is now rusted out and it's got a big old hole in it? It's just gonna fill back up again?
No, what I see is corrugated. It's a corrugated steel pipe. The portion that you can see from the orchard property, and then what I could see in my camera, it's all corrugated.
But it's probably the same corrugated steel that's all around the orchard property that we just replaced in front of our house, right?
Quite possibly.
Yeah, so it's probably rusted out and there's a big old hole up in there.
Yeah, could be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that might be a question that we're gonna have to address as well.
Yeah.
So before we can see what's there, don't we have to kind of clear it out?
Or dig it up from the top.
Yeah, it's pretty deep.
Oh, it
So
is?
yeah, it starts on this fairly steep slope between our properties, and then it then quickly goes down the slope, probably underneath our retaining wall, and then around into the catch basin.
Like, is it 2 feet deep, you think, or is it like 5, 6, 7 feet deep?
I think at points it's at least 6 feet deep.
Wow. Okay.
Because well, actually even more, because there's well, at least during the flooding when we're trying to explore what's going on, I mean, there's another drain inside property. It's more like an 8-inch drain, and that kind of parallels that drain, and that was at least, like, I couldn't reach it. I can reach the bottom with my arm stuck all the way into the water holding a broomstick. I couldn't reach bottom. So
Team.
Yeah.
Here's a thought. Down here, we abandoned a very, very, very deep drain pipe that went under the Tobin property and then under the road and then on down to Patrol Road. I'm wondering if in some cases like this, where you've got a pipe that's probably the bottom's rotted out, because all of the old metal pipes around here have been seen that's what the condition they're in, pardon me for babbling, the condition they've all gotten into, including one that was replaced just above me between Singleton and Burka, all over the hill. And if it's that deep, doing any kind of work on it, so difficult. Is there a possibility, I haven't seen your terrain or anything yet, but is it possible that a smarter move is to just abandon the whole thing and use the typical black corrugated heavy duty plastic pipe that we use everywhere now, and do it in a separate, completely parallel wherever, separate trench resting this pipe in it, and just abandon the stuff we're talking about that could be all plugged up? Is there a way to do that, do you think, on the surface or near the surface?
On the surface,
I mean, it wouldn't be pretty, but, or maybe it could be, buried just enough to hide the pipe itself, but accessible. Because it sounds like this one, if it's that deep, 6 feet, how do you ever work on it?
yeah.
Well, it's kind of goat land back there, right? I mean, it's pretty steep and a lot of vegetation.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing I can imagine is maybe along the fence line between our properties. My side being lower, obviously. Otherwise, I mean, this drain right now, I think it must run under our deck. And then, under the retaining wall to make it into this catch basin.
Mhm.
Do we find a new path for it?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I'm happy to have someone more expert than me come out and assess. I can't claim to really know the answer.
Yeah.
So what if we loop back to Mike? I'm sure he'd be happy to have been here tonight versus what he's doing. And ask him about the possibility
Sure.
of actually replacing the pipe versus trying to blow it out.
I can help out on that one, yeah.
And do we want to authorize him to make the decision and give him a budget of up to $1,500, just so that it gets fast tracked? I'm concerned that if we don't do something before the rains, Kim could be possibly looking at some more flooding this season. And we probably want to do something sooner rather than later.
How much of the pipe is on the road right of way, and how much is on your property, Keene?
Not knowing where the road right of way is, I couldn't say. The entrance to the drain is behind the orchard's fence line, right? So you can't see it or access it from the paved street.
There's no street access at all to any of this that we're talking about.
Correct. You have to actually enter the orchard property to the driveway and walk down the hill to the.
Yeah.
Kim, one last question. Is the flooding taking place at the catch basin or up on the pipes?
No, further up. So what happens is right near the entrance, if the rain is light, it flows just fine. And then the rain's heavy, it just can't keep up and overflows that drain onto a swale that's on our property, then overwhelms that and then floods. And so because on our property, that pipe is, I think, only 6 or 8 inches. And so it can't keep up with the flow, because that line basically dumps water from all the way up the hill, up Tynan and above. So it's quite a bit of water when.
And it goes all the way
relatively
to the top, very, very top of Santa Maria, doesn't it? Start all the way up there and run.
I think so.
I
Yeah.
think it does, yeah.
And can we put this in the hands of the drainage committee? I mean, so, I think them coming back or maybe I can go out there with Mike, just the 2 of us, to take a look and come up with some recommendations, but maybe as a backup, we approve 1,500 to be able to cover the cleaning if that's what the drainage committee agrees that we need to do. Is that in the regulations of what we can approve here?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, at least that gives us an option if we need to take action before our next meeting.
Yeah.
There's so much movement on that part of the hill, that at least give them the power to make that decision.
I don't think this committee is allowed to authorize taxpayer money for work that's not done on the road right of way.
We haven't determined.
I would be happy to take up a fund to help Keem out.
Yeah.
But
Wait, say
But we haven't determined all that yet, though. And what we're saying here is that if we are able to make the determination that they have the right to be able to spend those funds.
Let me say something, please, about that. If you read our documents, our road maintenance district, our RAC now, we are responsible for not only paving, drains, and there's sewers, meaning lines all over the place. Not if we're going to gather water together and dump it across, I think we have half a dozen to a dozen properties out of the 80 or so we have that get stuck taking everybody else's water, to put it plainly. We do have in fact, the responsibility to deal with that water. We can't just gather it all up and then dump it on to these guys and these guys and these guys and say, take care of it yourself. We do have responsibility to, I think, to spend money where it's needed.
Yeah, and that's one thing about this particular drain. It literally does not dump any water from my property.
No. Yeah, that's the way they work.
It goes under my property and exits my property, but that's it.
I mean, we have water coming from the top of the hill, let's say, straight line the back of all the houses on Russell. All that water starting up there makes its way down. I say 2/3 of it down in more the northern part of the Highlands, because of the way the slope is. A third of it maybe, or a quarter of it goes toward where you are, Keem, and then heads toward Wayside. As I said, all that water that party A pushes past their house and party B pushes past their house, then suddenly it's going into a drain across somebody else's property. That's sort of like communal water problem. It's not fair to just leave someone like Keem and Mimi to worry about it themselves. It's our water. It's everybody's water.
It's whether it's legal or not.
Well,
think it's
in our-
immoral.
in our agreement. so.
I think it's immoral, and like I said, I'd be happy to contribute, but let's find out whether it's legal.
Well, I think, yeah, I mean, and analysts' comments are fair. I think what we need to do though is we need to do an assessment first. So we need to get some people down there to make that, make the decision. I think we need to empower them though with some funds to be able to make that decision and take an action though, before we get to the rainy season. That's why I'm proposing we approve the $1,500 as Teresa, you initially recommended.
If that's a motion, I'll second it.
I'll make a motion to approve $1,500 for this group to make a decision to, if we need to clear it and if it's in the bounds of, this group, so.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, great. Kim, we got a next step for you.
I'll let Mike know to work with Matt, and then
Yeah.
you guys figure it
I'll
out.
send him an email too. I mean, the two of us, I think I'm here this weekend, or at least one of the days, so, we can stop by.
Okay.
Great.
Yep. Help yourself.
So we have another drain box at 175 Trinity.
A good friend of the Peters put a new top on it and cleaned the box out. However, there's still a need for a grate of some kind over the front of the catch basin. And maybe just some of those little metal rebar stakes that are driven in ahead of some of our drains. I don't know if anybody has any of those, but I don't.
Yeah, that rebar thing is great. You can look around at the drains and see it. All it takes is one stake.
Yeah, it take
Soccer
2 or
ball
3 in this
going in
case,
there
but
or a branch that you can't reach. So definitely, I walked past there and saw that, and I was thinking rebar.
Yeah.
So someone was able to find a piece of wood that fit on top, because
Yeah.
that was one of the issues.
Well,
was
they
it-
actually built one out of 3 pieces of plywood.
Oh, great. Well, thank you, Frank, if you did that. Thank you very much,
An anonymous friend.
Mr. Anonymous. So I don't know how you guys feel, but Jesse, Bruce's helpmate, is he's around, he does projects, and he's certainly capable of putting some grading or something in front of there. He does get $50 an hour. I suspect it would probably cost about $100.
This is a 10-minute job if we actually have those stakes. Now, Mike may have some. If not, Bruce may have some. We can
Just
probably
we
find
just
some
get them at the
somewhere.
hardware. They'll cut them for you, whatever length you want.
Yeah, well, they have a point on the end. Somebody has to grind a point on the end.
So
Whack it in.
somebody want to take on the grates, or you want me to talk to Bruce about it, or?
I'll talk to Mike about it and maybe we can work something up.
Okay.
Mike should have showed up.
Yeah, we got all.
Yeah,
sorts
he
of
was
work
worried
going on.
about this.
Yeah.
So,
No, but he's got a bigger problem.
great. And then there's the drain box at the Hill property at 79 Santa Maria, which we need a better solution than what currently exists. You heard me talking to the water folks about taking a look and seeing if they could come up with something creative. Bruce has a colleague who is a retired soils engineer who said he would take a look at it for a bottle of wine. And I said I'd throw in a bottle of wine. And so he's going to take a look at that and see from an engineering standpoint if there's something that he can envision that would be different than what's currently there. I think we're poking around for ideas. I just think right now we don't have such a great situation, let's put it that way. And it would be nice if we could have a plan to address that particular area. I talked to the Hills about it, told them that you know, that we really did need to do something different than not just have a cone sitting in front of their garage. And so they understand that we're looking at it and are supportive of us trying to get something better in place.
Mhm. By the way, I did, it doesn't in the meeting, but it's not in the minutes, but I did fill that hole that I promised to last time.
Oh, thank you. That's wonderful. That little asphalt thing, that little divot thing.
Yeah, it's now a bulge.
Yeah. Well, we have a couple of bulges around there, so
Right.
it's got a lot of striping going on around there. I think there's an opportunity here between whatever the water company's doing and what they're paving and whatever. I think if we could just kind of come up with something and say, hey, could you do this while you're doing that? Because they're going to be digging that whole area up. I think we could come to some agreement on sharing some expenses there, but we just have to know what we want to do.
Yeah, I think all we need to do is cut that asphalt down a little bit and maybe make the grade a little deeper, but maybe that's not even necessary. Just so that you can run over it without having an accident ensue.
Well, let's see what the bottle of wine gets us, and and push that a little bit more before we come to a final conclusion as to just lopping off some asphalt.
Indeed.
Anybody else have any other suggestions on drain box 79 Santa Maria? Okay. Okay, I promise we'd come back to the linking of that, which was the inventory of drains. We talked a little bit about what are the drains in jeopardy. We have this list of these drains here, but do we have drains that are in jeopardy? Do we have drains that are not properly being maintained? Do we have drains that we need to put on a list to take a look at? And do we need to just charge up the drain subcommittee to help us develop some type of a strategic analysis of our drainage system?
Teresa?
Yeah.
So I think there are two aspects to the drain situation. Number one that we've just been talking about is drains that need some kind of repair. And I think our list is looking pretty complete, although I would sure like to know what's going on Leroy, where the water goes. But the other side of the drainage situation is keeping them clear. And as I said, the blackberries are taking over. And once they get going and they start making it impossible after a couple of years to ever even get in there to look at stuff. So I think cleaning the drain openings, making sure that they are at least have something across them big enough to prevent a branch or a soccer ball from going in the receiving end. That's the other category. And I think on road cleanup day or days, if we just can climb into these drains and with our big loppers, we can get that done, get them cleared and open for the winter.
I'm happy to help. I just need to know where.
Do we
Is
have
that-
do we have a list of the drains that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I said I'm happy to help. I just need to know where, right? And
So,
so the
Matt,
drains would be helpful.
I took our big map of the neighborhood once and did a whole drain, color-coded drain design map, whatever you want to call it, that I'm happy to share with anybody to show which water goes where. So you picture the top of the hill, what stuff goes down this way, what stuff
Yeah.
goes the wayside.
I remember that map. If you can send that back out before the
Sure.
cleanup weekend, I think that'd be helpful.
It's on the website. The map's on the website under drainage. You just go to woodsidehighlands.net and you can get to it directly.
Okay.
You
We
don't
need
have to hand it
somehow
on.
to identify all the drains and number them or something so we can refer to them.
That's the map.
Yeah, Georg, I think we've aimed this list at Georg and he's going to.
No, it
process
exists. It already exists. That's
No,
what
I
Jean
don't
was
think we
just
have a
saying.
list of all the particular drains. We have this.
Which ones
flow
need,
list, right,
which
Jane?
ones need repair versus cleaning? We can mark up a map because we can always print that map or any other map and update
Right.
it if we change any directions of drains, for example.
Now, I would like to bring something up about the category that's called cross property drainage. So I have a natural waterway on my property, but it is
Yes.
not a drain. It's not owned by the road maintenance district. And the district has no legal right to use it as a drain, sending unnatural water flows into my natural waterway. This is a problem of longstanding. I believe, Jean, you confirmed that to me a couple of years ago. So I would appreciate it if on lists, it is not listed as cross-property drainage, but instead it's listed as a natural waterway, because that talks then about water flow, which is a very different concept from drainage. Now, this problem is not new, but I feel the need to state categorically that the road maintenance district does not and has never had permission from me to artificially divert the natural water flow away from properties that are legally required to accept that water and into my natural waterway. Now, this doesn't have to be worked out in court. I'm sure that if we use the town's mediation services, as I
Let
once
me interrupt.
suggested to
Can I
Jean,
ask one thing, Annalise? Are you proposing that we stop having water go across your property as we do across the French's, Ramesh's property? There's a system that's been in place long before you moved here, where the water goes there, here, and it goes under here, and it goes here. Yours is a main waterway. You can call it whatever you want. It's been there
it's a
long.
natural waterway that is
How do you know
only
it's
has.
natural? How do you know it's? a
I don't
natural
need to,
waterway?
I don't want to argue with you here. What I look forward to is working with the town's free mediation service to sit
do
down
what?
with the committee and come up with solutions.
What's the problem?
to-
What's the solution you're getting at? What's the problem you're talking about? Is there a problem?
The unnatural redirection of water flow onto my property that has happened in the time I have owned my property.
No,
But
it
this is
hasn't. That's
just a
always been-
comment to you. I would like to contact the town's mediation service, as I have already done before, Jean, Teresa, and was rejected, to discuss this issue offline with a mediator present to really discuss how best to solve this problem.
So do you
Thank you.
want the water not to cross your property anymore? Is that what you're getting at?
So I think, first of all, this is not on our agenda. So there's been a request to look at water flow that's unnatural on Annalise's property. And I'll just put that down as there's a request and also a further request for some possible mediation, because I don't really know exactly what all the issues are. And
I
I
guess
think I don't really know what to do with it at this point, other than to say that it was brought up. Is there any other discourse on this particular topic?
That's all I heard.
Okay, great. So I'm going to move on to financial update. We did get payment for the damaged mirror. It took quite a while and a few emails from Matt and others, but we did finally track down that whopping $300+ and it is now in our account. So anyway, we got our money. It wasn't attributed to us, so we want to make sure that everybody understands how fiscally responsible we are. Thank you, Matt, for doing that.
Thank you too. I think
it took two of us.
a little extra pressure.
I don't think either one of us could have done it alone. Okay, projects from prior meetings with follow through, erosion of town lot between Highlands and Wayside. Parties aren't here. We're just going to keep that out there. Purchase the rakes. I think, Frank, they're done, right? We can take this off, right? The rakes are purchased and they're in place. Yes? Yes? No? No.
I made a note. I'm doing it tomorrow.
Matt, you're the
Made a
one with the
note. I'm doing it
rakes. Oh,
tomorrow.
Frank, I'm sorry. It was Matt. Okay, so Matt.
Yeah, no,
Okay,
that's on
Matt.
me. I saw it on the agenda and I went, oh boy.
Okay, Matt, there you go.
I have a note to do it tomorrow.
All right, no problem. Installation of bot dots. A couple of them come up, but I think it's going well. I still haven't heard any noise about them other than
I haven't heard any praise either, so I'm not sure whether I think there is about a 20% attrition rate.
Yeah,
A bunch of them came up in the really hot weather.
Yeah,
And I think a couple others just got hit by a truck or something like that, but
yeah.
it's nothing we couldn't keep up with if we really want them there. But at some point, we'll have to decide whether we want them on all the curves or just places where people want them.
So my impression is that they really are helpful, particularly at the curve that they're sitting on. That I know for me, it really keeps me over to the side. And whether it keeps everybody over to their side, it's probably unrealistic to expect everybody to do it correctly, but I think it's better than nothing. I've heard no complaints about it.
Mhm.
And Tim, have you heard any? I mean, you're right there. Do you hear them when people are going by there?
Tim's not very close to him.
Hmm?
Yeah,
Tim's
Tim's
not
not
very
right
close
there,
to
but
him.
Matt's.
Or
not close.
I'm closer and,
Oh, you're-
and Woj is closer. Woj is the closest and Ramesh are the closest on the new
Yeah.
one.
Yeah.
Do you
I don't
hear
hear
him?
anything. I don't hear anything now.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I think they're doing a good job. I think folks are changing their driving patterns a little bit, just from what I've seen.
Well, of course, the other day I walked out, when I was walking down there, I noticed the initial egregious offender in the black early model Tesla was traveling on the wrong side of the road the way he did before. So the dots didn't help a bit. On the other hand, I'm certainly in favor of putting them on all the hairpins and would be happy to make sure that happens, but we need to get an agreement about that.
Any more conversation about it? Do you want to think about it? Do you want to authorize Frank to put some additional bots in the hairpin turn areas? Anybody?
I think the one by was it the upper switchback? Was that above from oh god, what is that turn? She got the long driveway. That doesn't drive me nuts. It's the next turn up from where we put the dots.
Which
You know,
dots?
one of the hairpins on Santa Maria on the way up the
Yeah,
three.
so when you come up, it's not the first, the second, it's the third. When you come up from,
Oh, by the water tank?
no,
Well, let's just do them all, but.
Are you
maybe
talking
we ought
about
to
the
look at-
narrow portion where
Mhm.
where there's the rock wall where the Haas house used to be over there?
I share my
Right
screen?
after when Trinity comes in and it curves around. Are you talking about there?
okay, so you can see my screen, right?
Okay, yes,
So we put dots here,
Right.
Yeah.
right.
I'm talking this one right here.
Yeah,
Oh.
okay. That's by Marge's house.
Favored.
Mhm.
Yeah. Oh, and yeah, French's house is right here. So yeah,
Yeah.
that's it. It's Marge's house. This one is the one where I've seen a lot of people cutting the corner lately.
Mhm.
We did the work on this one here.
Right.
I think that's working pretty well. I don't think it works here or any of the other spots. I think if I were to go anywhere else, this would be the next one.
Mhm.
Let's do it, sure.
Yeah, I see a lot of people cutting the corner there by the water tank too, so.
So do you need, what do you need from us to put them down, Frank?
Oh, I don't think I ever charged you for the original set. It's another $200 or so.
That was my other comment, is that I haven't received your receipt yet for what we previously.
Okay, I'll need to get my act together.
So do you
So
want us to
maybe we should let
authorize?
it go to the next meeting, 3 months?
It's up to us when we schedule it.
That's true. Anyway, yeah, so, max of 300 to do all the hairpins on coming up the hill on Santa Maria.
I make a motion that we approve up to $300 to purchase the adhesive and the butt dots for all of the major curves on Santa Maria in our community.
Is this 300 in addition to the 115 we already approved?
Yeah,
Yes. Mhm.
Okay, I'm just making a note here.
a second? Any second?
I second.
Conversation?
A second.
Any more conversation or want to vote? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
You in favor, Tim?
Aye.
Okay, great.
Over meeting. All right.
Road speed safety, well, this is just more of the same. one of the suggestions was to put another mirror up kind of where you are, Matt, and I'm not sure if that would work or not. I don't even know where we put the mirror. Do you have a sense of where we would put it if we put a mirror there?
Kind of in that lower spot right below the Silverman property near Tynan. But I'm looking at it, I don't know how much it's gonna help.
Hey, Matt, could I pop something in there? Because I've been walking that area a lot lately. It just feels to me like the people, it's really tricky for people on the outside of a curve to enter one of these curves. I mean, I've watched it lately a lot because of the recent, issues and all. And it just feels to me, but you're the one who has to enter the intersection along with Woj and people there. If I'm coming down Russell, the steep part, and then underneath your property, it just seems so logical to me that there should be a stop sign there before those people then enter this dangerous curve. Does that make sense? I mean, we don't want to put stop signs everywhere, but you should stop. I mean, I just automatically do before I enter that turn where this guy in the Tesla is always on the wrong side of the road. Can we put a stop sign there, or do people hate stop signs too much? But why not stop there before you enter that curve?
Are you referring to
Below your driveway?
right here? Yeah, below my driveway.
Yeah. So
Where
you-
would the stop
just
sign
like-
be, on the upside or the downside?
It would be
Above?
when it would stop people coming down Russell before they enter that dangerous hairpin turn. Give them a chance to look around and look and listen. I mean, I automatically do, and maybe people do, but I don't think you should I think it's real dangerous to go shooting into that blind curve without stopping to look and pay attention. Just think about it next time you drive down there and think, do you automatically stop anyway? Just to save your skin?
So I don't go down there at all. I avoid that.
We don't. Honestly, the worst part of the road, in my opinion, is not the intersection here, but it's actually right up here. Because there's a big old tree in this section here, and it kind of blocks your view around this. So you'd have to put the stop sign a little higher up. So I don't know. And I also wonder how many
Go
people
walk
actually stop
around
it too. It's like a stop sign in a parking lot, right? How many people actually use those? I'll think about it though.
Might be that a yield sign would at least establish the fact that people coming down Russell shouldn't have the right of way in that situation.
Right, just because it's Russell doesn't mean you should go flying through there.
Yeah.
Well, I'll speak for what Lawson said a while ago. No one reads signs. Figure that into your decision making.
Yeah.
We'll make it pink.
Hot pink.
I mean, yeah. I'll think about it though.
I think it's a dangerous intersection, and if we could do something that would be effective, that's obviously what the goal would be, but I'm a little skeptical about stop signs. We don't really have any stop signs.
Well,
in our
no, we have
community,
one where
right?
Russell, you stop when you come down Russell and you then enter Santa Maria, which is a dangerous place too, because people.
We do have that stop
It's like,
sign.
it's an
You're right.
identical situation, actually, if not
Yeah.
worse.
You're right.
I would almost stick it on Tynan because I mean it's a change in street.
Well, what if we took a portable stop sign and put it around and see, kind of a test for different places? I know that sounds a little wacky, but I mean, before we sink anything into the ground, we don't even know if it would be.
Yeah.
And who's going to enforce it? I mean,
Well, you can't.
we don't enforce things, so.
Yeah.
I don't know. Thoughts?
Let's put a camera out and do a long time survey to find out exactly when the traffic is there. And if we can establish like a set of 3 half-hour periods during the week when the traffic is heaviest, I'll go out there and stand there with a sign.
I will say
Amen.
it's not.
Amen.
I will say I've been here 11 years and I've never seen an accident there.
Yeah.
So
That mine. And I was
Okay, I don't hear any consensus on stop signs or mirrors or anything along there, other than let's keep pushing it along and we'll put some bots and dots and see. If things will, and if we do know that it's a black Tesla and we know who owns the black Tesla, who I actually don't know who that is, but if someone does know, I mean, maybe we need to talk to that person and say,
Actually,
hey,
Yeah,
you need to stop doing this. It's dangerous.
I
Or
actually, that's not the one that's not the car that comes to mind. Whenever I look at the cars that pass my house, that's not the car that comes to mind.
No, it doesn't go past your house. It goes around the hairpin and on up.
Oh, it rounds the tiny bed. Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
Mhm.
But maybe at some point we start, kind of putting or writing notes. I mean, we had to write a note to a person the other day about some dangerous activities of a child, which is a big safety issue. And I think it's okay that we do things like that. Not so much for public shaming as it is for putting people on alert that they really do need to pay attention to safety. These are narrow, winding roads.
No, private shaming.
I don't mind private shaving. I mean, if someone wants to give me the name of the person, I can write them a note. I mean, it's not an attractive thing to do, but if we decide as a kind of a group that that's what we want to do, then come up with some standard. You're on our S list, or you're on the speed list. Please slow down. We've got a list and we're checking it twice, and we're not going to stop at Halloween if you're not nice. Okay, I'm getting silly. Tim, thank you for taking down your Russell sign. I know that was probably painful to take it down.
Not at all. I will get a post and put it up somewhere in that immediate location.
Okay, I guess it just wasn't, PG&E wasn't happy that we put the Russell sign on their power post. So
Well, considering we have a lot of signs on their power posts, I thought we better react quickly to that one.
yeah, exactly. It's like, why this versus everything else? But
Yeah.
That same reaction.
but thank you for taking it down. Yeah. It was a
Yeah,
little-
Yeah,
little sorry.
I'll take care of that.
Amanda Smoot had all like she sent all these pictures from the citations from PG&E, so they stuck on that one for some reason.
I don't know.
Whatever.
Anything else? I think that hits our agenda, other than when do we next want to gather ourselves together? Let's see, it's October now. You want to go through the holidays and meet again sometime mid-January? Unless something comes up that we need to get together sooner.
Have we been meeting roughly quarterly?
We're meeting more than quarterly. We've been
Okay,
meeting every
fine.
2 months.
Mm.
And we've had quite an agenda, and it tends to kind of expand and contract.
I wonder if it tends to expand more the more meetings we have.
I don't think so. I mean, I don't hear people putting lots of things on the agenda. I mean, they're just things that take time to get resolved. So it just requires, oh yeah, we forgot this, or we're getting information for that, or
Okay, before we close, am I able to we have like the fall cleanup bills that are gonna be coming up. Can I get approval on those before the next meeting? If the next meeting is in January, I'd like to be able to get the invoice from Bruce on the dumpster and get approval for the 1290 that we're estimating.
I thought that we had already approved the dumpsters last meeting. If we didn't approve it, then we should approve because
I had spring cleanup in the last one, but maybe I missed that.
no, just in the minutes. Frank, you wrote the minutes. Do you remember if you had it in there?
Will you approve that?
Are you
We
kidding?
approved them. Well, we can do it again, because in fact, we have a whole section here on fall cleanup, so we can just approve the rental of 2 dumpsters.
Yeah, looking at the agreements, it doesn't say that we're approving 1200. It just, the minutes say that you'll check with Bruce and Tobin, and then we'll set 15, 16.
Okay. So I'd like to, accept a motion to approve the expenditure of, is it $1,500 for the 2 dumpsters?
$1,290.
$1,290.
I'll move to approve 1290 for the dumpsters for the spring
I'll second.
fall cleanup.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye,
Aye.
Opposed? Great.
thanks.
Okay. So we're back on minutes, back on when to do another meeting. So we have been doing them every couple of months. Our last one was in August.
August
So that was
2nd.
2 months. And then before that, it was June. So it's every 2 to 3 months that we've been meeting.
January seems like a good idea to me.
Okay.
Yeah, holidays are rough, busy times.
Oh, I don't think we want to, unless there's some urgent something that crops up in December. I can't see that we'll want to meet in December.
No, and allow the paving subcommittee to get together to
Okay.
have an initial meeting.
So let's aim for, let me look at January. We all know what we're doing in January. The second week is the week of the 9th, the third week is the 16th, and the fourth week is the 23rd. Any preference in there?
I'd go for the 16th or 23rd.
Okay, 16th or 23rd, okay. Let's go week of January 16th. It'll probably be about the 17th, unless there's a holiday in there. I don't know if there's a Martin Luther King Day in there. Matt, you probably know those things.
I'm actually looking this up right now. Yeah, Martin Luther King Day.
Yeah, it's the 16th.
Okay, so then let's do the following week. We don't want to do that week.
Wow.
So January 24th would be a Tuesday. Is a Tuesday a good day?
Yeah.
6:30, good time?
Fine by me.
Okay. January 24th, 6:30, unless you hear earlier. Okay, thanks, everybody. I will officially close the meeting at 8:21.
Thanks, Teresa.
Great.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you,
Yeah.
Teresa.
Bye. Have a
Thank
great one.
you.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Night.